started my working life in Istanbul 30 years ago. Istanbul from the beginning on fascinated me a lot, and in a way the distance to Europe is less than we always imagine. I think we have such an image in mind that the cultural difference is so big that we make the spatial distance bigger than it is. Yeah, while when I'm traveling to Iraq, for example, I'm traveling something like 2.5 hours with the aircraft, and it's the same distance when I travel to Berlin. But nobody has actually in mind, and Istanbul, in the spot that we are here, yeah, in this Greek school, that was always, in a way, the middle between the East and the West, with a big Christian tradition, and what was totally lost in my educational system, also with the migration, the Levante from Europe coming here. So that's why I never felt so alienated or so much not at home, because there was also a German migration. Yeah, before Turkish workers were migrating to Europe, German workers were migrating here. For me, it's a very meaningful place because it was a girls' school for 100 years, actually, until the end of the 80s, and one of the first that was actually founded in Ottoman Empire. The reason why it is abandoned is the shrinking of the Greek minority in Turkey due to xenophobia and also to pogroms that happened from the 15th on. Old Byzantinium was conquered by the Turks, so there was a huge Greek population. Today you only have 2,000 people left. While you have big properties, but the 2,000 people and the children that they have, they are not able to fill these schools, while the Turkish laws only allow Greek students coming to these schools. So there is a discriminational kind of law system here. So if they don't use it, and they can't use it as a school because there are not enough pupils, and the pupils have to be Greek, they cannot allow, they would also allow Turkish kids to come here. No, they are not allowed to. Since they don't have enough children, this is always being endangered of being confiscated. If you want to protect it, then you need to do activities related to this topic. So you cannot suddenly start using it as a store or something, or for any kind of commercial trade. But you need to do cultural activities. That's why the community prefers art events, but chooses very, very, very carefully which kind of art events they allow to be performed here. Yeah, because they still feel threatened, they don't feel secure, and they want to have an environment that is compatible with their contents. That's why, in a way, we are using this as a venue in an act of solidarity. We have international artists coming, specifically from Europe. The whole quarter kind of opens up and the conflicts decline. And there is a kind of hospitality over the borders of any kind of ethnical or religious kind of circle. Yeah? So the Greeks and the Muslims and the Jewish, yeah, everybody has this generosity actually towards foreigners. So when you come, and Mahalla means the quarter, so we will be in a way for a month, the quarter here for different artists and making a lot of mingling with the communities.
Kadınlara değil, katillere barikat. Kadınlara değil, katillere barikat. Kadınlara değil, katillere barikat. Bir kişi daha eksilmeydi. Eksilmeyince 62-84'ü.
Well, in Turkey at the moment, these are difficult political times, yeah? Because you have a presidential system, which is, I would say, a kind of dictatorship, which with an election system which is not really equal. Yeah, the opposition is not really able to campaign, for example, during elections. So the media is totally controlled. So you have an extremely suppressed society conversations and kind of information flow in the public. And of course that serves dictatorial kind of tendencies.
One and a half years ago, the Turkish government cancelled the Istanbul Convention. It means the human rights are on a critical situation because the Istanbul Convention affects whole Europe. They are not really accepting the international court or the European court in Europe. When I came to Turkey, Turkey had the most progressive statute in the whole region, and also compared with EU countries, the most progressive gender equality regarding many things, the most progressive statute. And the example for that statute was the statute from Switzerland. When Erdogan started to be a president, he said, I don't want to be a flower pot, like in Germany, for this representative president. My understanding of democracy, it's not good that one person can decide what will be happen tomorrow. Criticizing the government in Turkey depends how you do it.
The last 10 years, there are huge changes also regarding the cultural fields. That's sometimes depressing and challenging, but it's also in a way gives you the kind of reason to continue, I would say. For a time, only the media was very controlled. But since some years, the art scene is quite much under observation as well. That's actually one of the main reasons why we do the Mahalla Festival still in Istanbul, and also usually try to be a very political festival. You have a certain kind of strategy also, how to perform. For example, during the last event, there was a singer out of the queer scene detained, and so there, at the last day, during the finissage, there was a performance artist coming and making a solidarity performance. Yeah, because we knew when we do it earlier, it might be rotating on social media, and the festival might get closed, because that's what's happening in Turkey at the moment. Yeah? So if you're vocal on certain kind of minority topics or other things, you are really under danger of having serious legal consequences. You need to be precautious. You need to protect your artists, specifically the local artists. You need to choose your location extremely carefully. You need to choose your partners extremely carefully. And you need to have the ability to metaphorize your content in an intelligent way, and not in a way to use art only as an expression mode for politics. That's for me also not what an exhibition has to be. You know? We do community-oriented work, but still it's an art show. And you have to take very much care of that you don't extend the time too much. Yeah? A time frame of 2 weeks is clever, because you are not traceable too quickly, and the event is over before anybody from the state side realized what you were doing actually. In the last years, I'm asked this the whole time, why are you still there? Even my Turkish friends, why are you still there? Because I love it, and I also feel competent in it. You still have a lot of very, very good and intelligent artists in these countries who are still also producing very good works. Yeah? But you need to be precautious, find your niche, need to find your context, also need to have good partnerships to give them space. So that's what I see in a way as the mission of Mahalla. We have this, and we can also kind of bring people here and showcase to the works to a bigger audience to make it more relevant. Culture and art gives us a very rich and intelligent field of trying to get out of these monologues. Yeah? If your debates are usually a kind of verbal combat, while in the art fields you can try to draw some new pictures or work with the garden or make an installation that opens up a new vision of something. And one reason why we do international art shows here with vulnerable groups is, even if the people cannot travel, bring a kind of mobility to them, that they have an artist exchange. And very often, also in the context of magic carpets, they arrays some residencies or some possibilities of mobility. And this is for places like Turkey absolutely a luxury. Magic Carpets is an opportunity to have dialogue and also for the Turkish community to realize how diverse Europe is. There is a kind of tunnel that we are watching in, while Magic Carpets is actually opening the tunnel to a wider picture and to an exchange.